MMA fans love to celebrate trash-talking and cocky UFC fighters, but oftentimes these same fighters find themselves on the other side of embarrassing beatdowns. A fighter. For that reason, here are several cocky UFC fighters who had to learn that you can't always judge a book by its cover, and to stay humble. After beating pound-for-pound king Kamaru Usman twice in a row for the welterweight title, it was time for Leon Edwards to defend his belt against the biggest heel in UFC history, Colby Covington. Covington shot into UFC superstardom through making personal and cringy insults to other fighters and the media.
You said it wrong. It's been Askren.
Is that really it?
Yeah, that's the 37-year-old Napoleon Dynamite-looking virgin.
Get down and give me 10 push-ups right now! Get on your hands and knees!
And he made his unwavering MAGA support for Donald Trump a massive part of his personality.
Make America great again. Make it free again.
The gimmick became increasingly old and tiresome, especially as the fight approached against Leon Edwards, who was one of MMA's good guys and came from harsh and humble beginnings.
I told you, Mom.
This narrative carried over into the fight build-up, where Covington completely disrespected the skill set of Edwards.
No, it's a way easier fight than Usman. I mean, I fought Usman when he was in his absolute prime. This guy got lucky at a Hail Mary in the end of the fight to save him. So who's he beat besides that? 40-year-old Cerrone, 40-year-old fucking Nate Diaz, like Ricky Waters? Where's his resume so impressive?
However, nothing was more disrespectful than what Colby said to Leon later in the pre-fight press conference. It was such a disrespectful comment that the fighters had to be separated before things got out of hand.
Literally, you're so fucking stupid. On Saturday night, I'm gonna bring you to a place you never want to be. I'm gonna bring you to 7th layer hell.
Okay.
No, I'm bringing you to 7th layer hell. We'll say what's up to your dad while we're there.
Oh!
With tensions at an all-time high, Covington and Edwards finally met in the octagon at UFC 296. Fortunately for Leon, he got his revenge by winning a decisive unanimous decision victory over Colby. The defeat pretty much ended the Covington gimmick as we knew it. And speaking of eating your words, the next humbling might have been the toughest pill to swallow. That humbling includes at the time middleweight champion Israel Adesanya and undefeated Paulo Costa in one of the most humiliating sagas of all time. The beef kicked off when Adesanya called out Costa following his first title defense by mocking Paulo and casual fans who believed muscles won fights.
I got this overly inflated balloon animal. This hairy-ass Ricky Martin wannabe. This porra china.
The storyline was Hollywood-esque because Costa fit the traditional bully stereotype. He was the high school jock who may or may not have been taking steroids. He was super muscular, arrogant, and women found him attractive.
You saw how to test the juice?
No, if they test the juice, they will discover what have here inside.
On the contrary, Adesanya loved anime and mentioned several times that he was bullied growing up and for the most part had a timid personality. However, Izzy showed no fear leading into the matchup, and Paulo was braggadocious as usual, which made the fight build-up especially interesting because both fighters were keenly aware of the stereotypes going into the championship bout.
Adesanya is nothing. Adesanya is the most shameful champion I have seen ever. He just run. He's nothing. He's scared.
Even better, they played into these roles with Costa constantly referencing Adesanya's skinny frame and Izzy explicitly calling Costa a bully.
I'll grab your fucking collar right now.
You never put a key on your body, on your skinny body. You never put one key on your skinny body, huh?
With undefeated records and bragging rights on the line, Adesanya and the schoolyard bully Costa fought for the UFC middleweight title, and the result was humiliating. Adesanya put on arguably the best performance of his career, outpointing Costa from the outside with brutal kicks and straights to the face. As the fight went on, the outspoken bully became the victim, and Paulo slowly succumbed to Izzy's pressure and striking prowess. And in the second round, Izzy TKO'd Costa, and then the unthinkable happened.
I didn't see when I was there on the cage, but I saw now. I disapprove 100%.
Izzy humped Costa in the ring, embarrassing him in front of millions, making the macho bully look weak and helpless. And to make matters worse, Izzy became an even bigger MMA superstar, and Costa was never quite the same after his first defeat.
Paulo's a human being. He's got the right to have a dream and a goal and try to pursue it and have to face the next page, which is regret, embarrassment, questioning self. The question is, how long can he do it for?
The style bender humbling Costa was one of the most pivotal moments of his career. However, later down the road, he would find himself on the receiving end of his own humble pie from a long-time nemesis. And if you're enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe. I'm looking to expand the channel in 2025, and your subscription means a lot. Thank you, I appreciate you. Not all rivalries actually start in the UFC. In fact, the beef between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira was so deep that it predated their UFC tenures, dating back to their kickboxing days when both fighters were pursuing combat sports superstardom. In 2016, Pereira and Adesanya matched up for the first time in kickboxing.
People were like, oh, you know, if you leave it to the judges, that was the Glory World title fight. And I won that fight, but then I didn't finish the guy. People were like, oh, well, that's what happens when you leave it to the judges.
Unable to accept defeat, whenever Pereira was brought up to Adesanya, the style bender constantly downplayed Poatan as a fighter. In a sense, efforts to minimize Pereira actually turned him into a boogeyman that haunted Izzy for the rest of his career. In their kickboxing rematch, the style bender suffered an even worse defeat against Pereira than in their first fight.
But then, this fight I fought and I got knocked out. My first and only ever knockout loss, and then my only back-to-back loss as well.
It almost seemed like Adesanya's schoolyard bullies reincarnated as Alex Pereira, the ultimate nemesis who could never be defeated and haunting Izzy wherever he went. Literally, in 2021, Pereira made his UFC debut, completing the transition from kickboxing into the premier mixed martial arts organization. If Pereira could adapt his kickboxing skill set for MMA, it's likely he would meet Adesanya again, but this time in the octagon. That's just what happened.
Just those big explosive moments in kickboxing, that's where Pereira has won. He knocked him out. But if you look over the entirety of those fights, Adesanya had a lot of success.
And he's going to be that guy when I'm world champion, when I'm a legend. He's going to be at some pub talking some shit about, I beat that guy one time.
For pound supremacy, it was time for Adesanya to confront his demons again, only this time inside the cage. In an attempt to get revenge, Adesanya started the fight strong by keeping distance and landing on Pereira. He even secured a crafty takedown on Alex, but unfortunately for Adesanya, the inevitable happened. Pereira landed his patented left hook, which left Adesanya dazed and off balance. Failing to regain his composure, the fight was stopped and Poatan won the middleweight title, confirming his boogeyman status. However, the saga didn't end there. Adesanya eventually overcame his fears and knocked out Pereira in their rematch. The rivalry added to both fighters' star power, and almost 10 years after the beef originated, Adesanya and Pereira have actually become good acquaintances.
Adivinhe, hein? Uma chance. Errado. Israel Adesanya. Chama.
While this grudge match ended on good terms, in the next one fighters may be taking it to the grave. In what may be the biggest rivalry in UFC history, Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov started their relationship on good terms, with Khabib predicting Conor would win the 145-pound title.
Well, I like Conor McGregor, but he come on 55, for me need to smash him, no problem. He's a striking guy, I like him. I think he can beat Jose Aldo, maybe finish him, but a lot of people think Jose Aldo beat him, but my opponent, I think he killed him. But if he come 155, welcome.
While cordial at first, the relationship quickly dissolved after the Notorious moved up to 155 pounds. In a sneaky move by the UFC to slight their rising Dagestani star, they forced Eddie Alvarez to defend the belt against Conor McGregor instead of Khabib.
And they do this to get guys to have leverage as a negotiation ploy. Look at Frankie Edgar over there. He's been waiting to fight Conor McGregor for 2 years, and he hasn't done so. So I knew what was going on.
But UFC don't send him contract.
And you should be upset about that.
I come for this sport first time. I have 24 win streak, best win streak in the sport.
The beef started to escalate during the build-up of McGregor's attempt at the double champ status, where Khabib was fighting on the undercard. Khabib dominated his opponent that night and used the biggest platform he's even found himself on to call out UFC's cash cow.
I wanna fight with your chicken because this is #1 easy fight in lightweight division.
After this, Khabib was an undoubted next contender for the title, but McGregor was at the peak of his fame and was quite dismissive of him.
It was a good performance. I mean, what he was talking as well was, I mean, look, he's fought once in 8 years. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't fight too frequent for my liking. Like, for me to commit to something like that, I need to be solid proof that people are going to show up, and he's a consistent pull-out merchant. He had a good performance tonight. Fair play to him. We'll see where it goes, but I need to see active. I need to see activity. I need to see consistency. I need to see me. You know what I mean? If you want me to come and change your life, if you want me to come pick you, you better have some damn reasons for me to do that.
All of these events contributed to the rivalry reaching its tipping point when Khabib's team cornered McGregor's teammate Artem backstage. The next best move for Conor was to retaliate, and that's exactly what he did, possibly even taking things too far.
Oh shit, what the fuck are these guys doing? Oh fuck, hold on. It's just crazy, he's here.
The brewing beef facilitated back and forth trash talk right up until the press conference, with Conor antagonizing Khabib as a person and infringing on his religious beliefs, making the beef extremely personal.
A little rat, a little weasel, a little hard man in groups. I've met many of them through my years. A man who grows in numbers, but on his own, and when confronted in a similar situation, cowers away. And that's what you saw with that little shite on the bus over there. Happy birthday, shite on the bus.
I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I never drink.
I'll tell you some buzz at parties.
I never drink.
You mad backwards cunt. You're dead when I get my hands on you, do you hear me?
I never drink.
Dead.
The biggest grudge match has finally arrived, and Khabib gave Conor McGregor the humbling of a lifetime. Outstruck on the feet and eventually submitted on the ground, Khabib broke and embarrassed the Notorious. Almost a decade after their clash, the animosity still lives on, with the fighters exchanging obscenities from time to time on social media and in interviews. As it concerns prolonging beefs because of pure hatred, look no further than the next rivalry. When disrespectful fighters get humbled, it can sometimes happen historically fast. That was the case for Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren. Askren was seen as the dorky and nerdy wrestler as opposed to the street thug persona Masvidal portrayed. Considered to be the intellectual of the two fighters, Askren seemed to look down on Jorge and mocked Masvidal for his inability to control his emotions. Masvidal took offense to Askren's pompous attitude, and the rivalry created a separation between fan bases: the nerds versus the jocks. Additionally, Askren had bragging rights over Jorge's Gym American Top Team, so Masvidal had no choice but to get the victory back in blood to avenge his teammates.
All that American Top Team training, but does it match up against you, Funky, and Duke Rufus, the AWA? Wrestling, baby.
I'm 7-0 against American Top Team at this point.
Masvidal pushed into combat sports popularity through Kimbo Slice street fighting videos, and coming from a rough upbringing, always seemed to carry a chip on his shoulder since he first began fighting on the underground scene.
Gotta shake your hand, partner.
Oh yeah, Papi,
Victor, right?
so good, Papi. I want to give you a...
Stays here. Hey, your man stays on the deck.
Yep.
Not going nowhere. Cause my nigga. Beat him. Good game, good game. Let me see this guy shake right here. Let me see it again. Watch out, watch out. Good shit, you guys.
Good shit, man.
That's how we do it here.
You did it, though.
We're even now.
Ben Askren understood Masvidal's upbringing, and constant out-of-ring confrontations were a sore point, and made sure to capitalize on this during the fight build-up, speaking down on Jorge's fighting ability, but even worse, also him as a person.
And I see your opponent's not here. You have a theory about why that is?
I think it's probably a combination of he doesn't want to get verbally abused, and he's so mentally weak that he thinks missing one day of training will affect the outcome of the fight. I don't understand, listen, and I get I'm a fighter, I don't understand people that walk up and just punch people for not really a good reason. For me, it shows two things. Number one, total lack of discipline. Like, that's not cool. You can't just go punch someone. So you lack the discipline that you get so angry, you can't control yourself, and you have to start throwing your fist. And number two, that you are not really secure with your own masculinity, that you see, oh my God, he said something. I need to go prove I'm tough. Hi-yow, I am tough. Like, shut up, dude. Like, we get it. You're tough. You fight in a cage.
After missing a couple pre-fight press conferences, Masvidal finally caught up with the media to make his intentions clear about what he had planned to do to Askren.
My experience though, my fighting style, and my perseverance mixed with the game that I have, that I'm just a dog, I'm not gonna quit. He's never seen nothing like me in his life, I guarantee you. After Saturday, he'll write a book on what he learned from me, you know?
And when the fight finally came, and Ben Askren had to stand on everything he said about Masvidal, he couldn't do it. And one of the most legendary knockouts in UFC history happened. Jorge game-bred Masvidal shocked the world and set the record for the fastest KO in UFC history, a flying knee straight to the dome. Ben Askren was left completely unconscious, and the victory shot Jorge into MMA superstardom.
First time I see him, I watch him, he's about to cut the corner. So I hide like this, and I wait for him to pass me, and I jump up, and I go, "What's up, motherfucker? You've been talking a lot of shit," and his initial thing is to freeze up, right? So I know, okay, adaptation skills, 0. But the whole thing is the walking over him that really gets him to change his speed. I saw that on Twitter, I always like to study my dudes in different ways, but I saw that in
the best just celebration.
On Twitter, I saw that he was very witty and always constantly writing shit like that. I'm like, he's a dork and a nerd, but he's got a little bit of wit behind the computer screen.
Ben Askren surprisingly took the humble pie pretty well, also appearing on multiple shows breaking down what he could remember of an extremely brief but exciting fight.
Man, I remember being in the cage with him. I don't really remember the flying knee. And then when I can recall, I remember everything. I was like, oh, I lost to George Masvidal.
No one likes to be forgotten, but that was the case for a promising rising contender in the next saga. Similar to Askren, Giga Chikadze is one fighter who seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth after being handed a reality check. A touted kickboxer from Georgia with an awkward fighting style, Chikadze was the UFC's new shiny toy, being positioned for a featherweight title shot. On the back of a 7-fight winning streak, Chikadze was rightfully feeling himself, but the hype slowly started to get to his head.
Just wait for my trash talk. I learned English very well now, and I'm ready to go.
His opponent, Kattar, was a fan favorite known for his crisp boxing and durability, but he had a chip on his shoulder from Chikadze's constant disrespect.
These motherfuckers have to show me why I can't. Why I can't win that fight. Why I can't be in that house. Why I can't drive that car. Prove it, motherfuckers. I'm not taking your word for it.
Additionally, Chikadze looked at Kattar as a stepping stone to build his name off of, thinking he could eclipse Max Holloway's winning performance over Clavin to cement himself as the best fighter and striker in the featherweight division.
I want to see these guys who make rankings, bro. I want to fight their What is it, brother? Like, I fought 7 times, my man, and I beat like 2 ranked opponents, and both of them were 100% the legend of the sports.
There are many cases of fighters building strong records, but never being truly tested in a fight. After finishing 2 top 10 fighters, Giga was under the impression that his striking abilities would turn his opponents into panic wrestlers.
Do you like the idea of knowing that somebody is probably going to try to stand toe-to-toe with you?
I don't think so. He's going to try to wrestle me, I guarantee you that.
After a tense fight build-up, Giga was in for a real surprise on fight night. Kattar outstruck him on the feet for 5 rounds, nullifying the kickboxer's offensive arsenal while battering and bruising Chikadze. Giga looked helpless and lost, unable to inflict any real damage on Clavin. It was poetic that Clavin did to Chikadze what Holloway did to Clavin.
Never in history could you offer me one single example of anybody who took the kind of beating that Kattar took in his last fight, came back against a top-ranked guy, and performed that well.
Although Giga seemed fairly humble in accepting his first defeat, he wouldn't take the same approach online.
Also, I feel like if I would fight with this guy 10 times, 9 I would win, and that would be the one I would lose, and that was the last time.
In the aftermath, Clavin couldn't help but highlight Giga's arrogance and lack of focus leading into the fight.
And here he is going on Facebook saying that he beats you 9 out of 10 times. Was that a bit surprising to you?
Yeah, I feel like there's two different Gigas. There's one in person and one in the interviews.
Chikadze's confidence certainly rubbed fight fans the wrong way, but no one could get under the skin of their opponent and fans quiet like Kevin Lee. Before Tony Ferguson was the over-the-hill fighter he's known for being today, he was a supremely violent mixed martial artist known for talking smack and backing it up. Because of this, Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee was the perfect matchup, with Lee being talented, arrogant, and a good trash talker himself. The rivalry initially kicked off after Lee secured a victory that got him closer to a title shot, and with the original champ at the time pursuing money fights in boxing, an interim champ was there waiting to defend his belt against upcoming contenders.
When he had you in that 100%, when he DDT'd you, how did that make you feel? Did that wake you up, or were you just like okay, or did it hurt? Or what was going on in your head as soon as you guys slammed on the mat?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't even know what a DDT is. I think that's a WWE move. I'm pretty sure I'm the one that lifted him in the air, so I don't see how he's slamming me if I got him on my shoulder. You know, I mean, can we put a real journalist on?
El Kukui in his prime had quite an intimidating presence, and very few people dared to trash talk him, but not Kevin Lee.
Yeah, you know who I am too. Oh, yeah? What you talking? It ain't gonna be no talk. No, you're good.
Besides Ferguson's ruthless fighting style outside of the cage, he built a reputation as the awkward and weird fighter who people should just keep their distance from. On the other hand, Lee had more of the flashy and too cool for school persona, and in a sense, Kevin was the bully, or at least he was trying to be.
He was a weirdo then, he's even weirder now. And we ain't really had no.
You gotta market
interaction
yourself the way
that.
that you have to. Honestly, I get it. Like I told you, you have to market yourself. You're gonna have to fight, and you're gonna have to bleed a little. You gotta fight. You're gonna bleed, and you definitely market your ass to get to this spot.
I've fought more times in the last year than you ain't fought in a year. I done fought 4 times this year, so I don't even know
retired
what
people
you're
and I
talking
made
about.
them move classes. I ran out of asses to kick.
When the fighters clashed, Lee learned that arrogance and bravado doesn't win fights. Despite being in top position for numerous grappling exchanges, Ferguson's guard was abnormally active and dangerous. The pressure from the bottom continued to overwhelm Lee, resulting in Kevin being submitted in the 3rd round by triangle choke. To this day, the rivalry has subsided, but it's obvious Kevin Lee would still like to get his revenge.
I think people don't really realize the significance of that fight the first time we had it, so I think it's only right that we run it back.
Revenge can be sweet, especially when it comes against your former teammate. At one point, Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw was arguably the messiest rivalry in combat sports. The beef ends with these fighters, but it began with their coaches. Duane Ludwig, who coached at Team Alpha Male, parted ways with Uriah Faber's Sacramento gym to relocate to Colorado. After years of striving for UFC gold, Team Alpha Male's Dillashaw won the belt off Renan Barao in a short-notice fight, while Ludwig served as his private coach.
You said on SiriusXM that TJ is the only member of Team Alpha Male that really wants to be a champion, and this has, I guess, some, ruffled some feathers. Do you regret saying these comments?
You know, I don't regret it, because ultimately, if you want something, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen.
While TJ played both sides, Team Alpha Male's new hot prospect arrived on the scene. Cody Garbrandt made his UFC promotional debut in 2015 and emerged as the face of Team Alpha Male and eventually becoming champion, while Dillashaw made his decision to leave the team permanently, joining forces with his head coach, Duane Ludwig. Scorned and bitter, Garbrandt took issue with Dillashaw and Ludwig when they were paired on The Ultimate Fighter as coaches.
What world champ you got?
TJ.
He ain't the world champ. I'm the real champ.
Dwayne, check your out, bro.
Look at those
You
Ghana
gotta
nips.
show intro to kickboxing. I got team belts at our.
Congratulations, Buckles.
Yeah.
You did very good.
Yeah.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Thanks. What do you got? You intro some guys to kickboxing? What? Huh? Well,
trying to be a dickhead.
Did you hear that, TJ? He's not trying to have a fight, Jim.
right.
Are you a fighter or not?
Both fighters were finally matched up for the title, and Garbrandt couldn't shake his animosity for Dillashaw. The hate ran deep.
He just needs the money. He just needs the money. That's why he's here. He wanted to fight Mighty Mouse. That's why. He's a money fight.
You know, it's definitely about the belt to prove that it was mine the whole time.
You know, I don't understand the animosity coming from them. You know, it's a little bit ridiculous. Do I need to hold his hand and tuck him in at night? Why is he so mad that I left?
You're a cheap shotter.
You know what I mean?
You heard it from the horse.
I'm not your daddy. Uriah's your daddy. Let him tuck you in. He'll be there to hold your hand, baby. He'll be there to hold your hand.
Yeah, he'll be there.
At fight night, they fought and Garbrandt was on the receiving end of a humble defeat. Cody showed flashes of brilliance by almost finishing Dillashaw, but in round 2, TJ connected with a vicious hook that Cody couldn't recover from. The ref stepped in to stop the fight, and Cody's short-lived title reign came to a staggering halt.
At the end of the day, you have to be honest with yourself, and I made an error and he capitalized.
They'd meet again, and Cody suffered a similar fate, getting knocked out by TJ and confirming to the MMA world that he was the inferior fighter. Dillashaw later went down a weight class to chase double champ status, but only to be on the receiving end of a humbling experience. At the highest level of MMA, you can never really escape your karmic debts, and Dillashaw learned this the hard way. TJ, who later ended up suspended for performance-enhancing drugs, won the saga against Cody Garbrandt, but ran into a stiff arch-nemesis named Henry Cejudo. Confident in his movement and knockout power, Dillashaw was certain Cejudo would be another victim.
He hasn't dealt with my movement. He hasn't dealt with me mixing it up. I'm going to knock out Henry Cejudo. I'll take that belt. He's been begging me to take that belt off his shoulder. It's too much weight for him. You know, that gold medal's light. This UFC belt's got a lot more weight to it. I'm going to take it right off his shoulder.
Cejudo definitely played into a gimmick character, but that didn't negate his grit or overall fighting ability. It's likely Dillashaw underestimated and didn't take Cejudo seriously, when you consider Triple C didn't portray a professional fighting image.
I'm going to get in there on the 19th. I'm going to destroy this dork. He's walking around himself, talking about himself in the third person, carrying his belt everywhere. Ever seen a picture of him? He's got his belt with him.
You like it?
You like it?
Take a look, TJ. Take a look.
All right. Calling it his baby. It's not about the belt, man. It's about the legacy. Being the best ever.
To add to this, MMA fans and fighters generally thought Dillashaw was selfish and had his own best interests in mind at all times. TJ had no regrets about his disposition and attitude either.
I'm doing this for myself. This is a selfish sport. I'm going out there and I'm winning for myself. I'm gonna be the greatest.
And that's exactly who he is. And that's exactly who he is. You have friends like Joe Benavidez. You have guys like Shorty Torres living with. These are all flyweights, bro. Where's your respect, man?
After all the bravado and marketing shenanigans, the fighters settled their disputes in the octagon. For Dillashaw's sake, it would have been better if he didn't show up for the fight that evening. Cejudo knocked him out in the very first minute after clipping him with a punch behind the ear. The aftermath of the fight revealed an even uglier truth about Dillashaw's performance that night.
Yeah, we may talk stuff, you know, to each other, whatnot, but it doesn't get that personal. It shouldn't get that personal for somebody to take an EPO, man, a drug that you just will never get tired of, and fight that dude with these 4-ounce gloves. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a little bit of malice there.
Speaking of fighters underestimating their opponents, the next guy thought that raw power could take out a crafty veteran. The UFC heavyweights have had their fair share of rivalries throughout the years, but almost nothing was bigger than the build-up to Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic. With 11 wins and 11 finishes, Ngannou was more than confident going into his first championship fight, to say the least.
Whatever I'm gonna try, I'm gonna catch it. Yes, and then I'm gonna connect it. And you know what happened when I connect.
Despite being the established champion, from the outside looking in, there were certain physical attributes Francis had that Stipe didn't process. For the most part, Francis and the Vegas sportsbooks felt the same way about him being the favorite. The masses didn't respect Stipe's ability or accolades, which was a terrible mistake. Like many fighters with Ngannou's punching ability, they start to fall in love with their power.
Francis Ngannou has the world record for the most powerful punch. His punch is the equivalent to 96 horsepower, which is equal to getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can.
He just hits fucking unbelievably hard.
I can't believe that you said he got 120,000 on that machine.
I think like 120 something. I think, find out what it is. 129, that's so crazy.
Like many mixed martial artists, the hype can get to fighters' heads, and Francis wasn't an exception, allowing the media to convince him he could walk over Miocic.
I really believe that I'm the best. I'm the best technically, powerfully, all the plan, the motivation, everything. I have everything to beat him on Saturday.
From flyweights to heavyweights, anyone can eat humble pie in the unforgiving sport of mixed martial arts. At UFC 220 in Boston, the Predator learned you can't always rely on punching power to win fights. Miocic dominated Ngannou by winning exchanges on the feet and overwhelming Francis in grappling exchanges. Francis looked like a deer in headlights, failing to solve Stipe's puzzle. In the end, Miocic won by unanimous decision, and for the first time being the Ngannou hype train was derailed. Fans always like to see a good humbling handed to disrespectful fighters, and fighters can sometimes benefit from it themselves. And to watch Ilia Topuria backing up his words and humbling fighters that underestimated him, check out this breakdown next.